Well, there we are, boys. And I went back to figure out how long it's been since we've been on camera together. And it was in February of 2022 when I first started
Wow.
230. And we discussed at length Mr. Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire.
And then right, the whole
I
thing
remember
was media. It was all about the media. Yeah.
We published on his empire, which at the time was, 100+ million. It ticked up over 200 million for a bit. And I think it kind of plateaued. Obviously, he's a very powerful media figure. We were talking about him being a possible Reagan Republican, someone that would be quoting Ben in the future, specific to old school GOP doctrine, fiscal responsibility, small government, all of that. He's shifted quite a bit in the sense of audience capture, right? He had to kind of figure out, like, how do I make more money? And so he started doing these things on, like, going after, Taylor Swift. It's just,
I kind of stopped. I've stopped listening to him. It's a little hard to take these days.
Yeah. And I did like his conversation with Ezra Klein.
Yes,
a couple of weeks ago. I actually thought that, that's the guy who's actually back there behind the character that he is playing. He was the smarter guy, the more thoughtful guy that you think he is.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we were talking about. I don't know if you remember the clap back we got, or if I shared that with you, my audience, I had people unsubscribe, and you're like, why would you platform this monster? And I was like, oh my God, guys, I disagree with a lot of the things he talks about, but he's highly intelligent, educated, seems like a good family man, all of those things. And I think that even his ouster with Candace Owens, who was one of his stars, who proved to be batshit crazy and anti-Semitic and a myriad of other things.
Nuts.
Yeah, you're just being kind.
Right.
I'm being kind. So I think more importantly than that one episode we had together, we've been buddies from the industry, from the ad biz for 20+ years. And we've been debating each other for a decade. So, I mean, that's the fun part about you guys. Kevin, you're our storied Trump supporter. I don't know if you categorize yourself as MAGA or not, but you're definitely a big supporter. And
if somebody would actually define in real words what MAGA means,
that's why I didn't
if I am or not.
Yeah, that's why I didn't assign it to you. Just Trump supporter, loyalist, that kind of thing. I think would be Jimmy. You are our resident libertarian / moderate intellectual, and I'm just the typical continually frustrated Democrat.
Right.
So, our conversations have gone all over the place for years, and we do go at it pretty well. And I love you guys for that. And then we hug it out like brothers after the fact. So it is possible to have friendships like this, even though Kevin's wrong all the time about politics.
One more time, you were wrong, sir. But you shouldn't be a frustrated Democrat right now. According to Schumer, it was a clean sweep. The people have spoken.
Well, Schumer is one reason I'm frustrated.
And how shocking! In 3 straight blue communities, Democrats won. I'm blown away. I'm blown away by that.
That's a good place for us to start. Let's start with the elections. Right? We have, we had Abigail Spanberger, who ran in Virginia. Centrist campaign. It's another thing I think we kind of touch on, right? Is that she was not running progressive campaigns. She was not talking about progressive ideology. She was very centrist. For those of you who don't know, my listeners, the former CIA officer and former rep of Virginia from 2019 to 2025, she ran against Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears with the sole purpose of holding him close to Donald Trump. That was a very concerted effort by the campaign. And they did talk a lot about that, specifically to the efficacy and the eventual win, which was 15 points. So that's no joke. I mean, 15 points is
that's
big.
A strong win. Yeah. That's the only election I didn't follow this year. I was more captivated by that guy who sent a whole bunch of texts about killing Republicans. I followed him more.
Jay Jones, yeah.
He won.
He won too.
Who also?
He did win. He did. He didn't win. He probably won by less than he would have had it not been for that. But yes, he did all.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he won because he was a Democrat, not for any other reason.
Correct.
Got the D.
I mean,
Got the D.
and that's why. I mean, it's a form. I don't want to call. Well, I hate the word backlash because it's overused, but it's a kind of that. I mean, the pendulum never swings one direction, right?
I call
It
it
goes this way, and it goes that way.
I call it cult-like, but you guys probably wouldn't like that.
No, if it works.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, if it works, I've accused. We've talked numerous times about cult because I asked you, do you fit the definition of a cult years ago in our debates, and you said, yeah, under that definition.
Under yours, yes.
Yeah. No, but I shared it with you. I shared it was just a generic, and so that was the idea. I do think that progressive ideology fits cultish behavior. I really do.
Right.
I mean, and
I think
look at people asked about Jay in his utterance, specifically putting bullets in people's heads and hurting and hoping the children are harmed. You say that behind closed doors, and obviously we have all said things that could catapult.
I don't think I've ever said that behind.
I haven't either. I have never talked about murdering people, but
no,
that was
so harsh.
The Democrats didn't back that up, and that bothered me. I think that's one of those things you have to say, hey, this was reprehensible. This is not the man we want as an AG. So that is the culty side of things where they just like, yeah, we got to go along with it. You know,
I see, and I don't see it as culty. There's cults in certain pockets, but cult is always a minority. It's very small.
Very small.
What it really is it's more like sports fans, right? I mean, I was a Raiders fan my whole life. Now I'll never forget the Snow Bowl.
I'm sorry about that, Jimmy.
2001, and they lost in the playoffs against the Pats, and it was clearly a bad call. And it was, there was clearly forward motion, but they said no, it was a fumble, and the Pats got to keep it and then go on to win the game. And the Raiders they were kind of fucking take it. I mean, it's the only time I've ever cried about a sporting event. And I don't care about sports. But I care about that. And what I've learned then and ever since is, and it started with Pats fans, but it's pretty much anyone, which is if it's your team that does it, you don't care. You just don't. You don't care. You're like, you'll find a way to rationalize it, and you'll do any kind of like mental and emotional acrobatics that you can in order to be okay with whatever it is because it's your team. And, we call it tribalism or whatever, but I feel like it's almost more like sports team fandom because you care when they play the game, but then when they're not playing the game, you don't care much unless anybody says something about it. So it's not like your tribe where I'm trying to feed the tribe and I'm going out and hunting for the tribe. You only care when somebody asks you at the bar. You don't really care the rest of the time.
I know you guys don't necessarily believe me, but I actually try very hard not to be that way. I try to analyze everything. This Republican is doing this. Do I think that is smart? If I were not Republican, would I say this guy is batshit? I don't know.
Governor Mikie Sherrill, New Jersey, former United States Naval Academy, Annapolis grad, received an MBA in history from the London School of Economics, and she's an impressive young lady. Has a Juris Doctorate from Georgetown, and another centrist candidate, by the way, who also won by 13 points. So what were you guys thinking about Mikie Sherrill and that win in New Jersey against Sherrill?
I don't know if you guys had the pleasure of seeing all the campaign ads during that time that I got to see in New York.
No, you guys get those ads. I don't out here.
Bombarded. So according to, what was the other guy's name? Jack?
Yeah, Jack Sherrill.
According to Jack, she raised taxes. According to Mikie, she's going to lower taxes. She then said the exact same thing about Jack. Jack said, I'm lowering taxes. She said, so I don't know where really either one of them stand. I kind of liked her persona.
Yeah.
We always talk about, does this person seem like a good person? I kind of like her background. She's ex-military. Yeah. She's raised a family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of like her background.
That's good.
So wasn't this like the third time? Oh, sorry. Wasn't this the third time he's run?
Might be. I know he's been.
I think he's run a few times
in numerous.
Right, and he's always been unsuccessful. So he's got the name recognition. But by this point, everybody who was going to vote for you has already voted for you. I mean, the key would have gotten to either new people to vote for you or people who just didn't vote before to vote who would have voted for you anyway.
Sort of like Sliwa. Sort of like
This
Sliwa.
whole,
Well,
Yeah.
exactly. Like you know why I like Sliwa? Because I think he's an idiot otherwise, but he loves animals. So that would be he loves animals. He loves
berets.
rescue places, and he
loves
likes
berets.
and he likes berets. And I mean, I like the raspberry beret. So why not? I like the song. I like French girls. What kind of
going back to Mikie, the I think a lot of that also has to do with what you said earlier, Jimmy. She's got the D in front of her name.
She has also turnout was a big deal. I don't know if I want to get into anything like that, but clearly, and this was true before, the number of people who come out to vote makes a difference.
Yep.
And I mean, Trump won. I mean, not to talk about Trump because it's not really about him right now. I mean, it is, but it is. He won in 2024 by less votes than he had lost by in 2020. So it's all about turnout in something like this and alternatives. Like people are like, I don't want the R. And New York, to me, is not connected to the other two races. I mean,
no.
Little teeny bit, but not really at all. Like New York is its own thing, and we're going to nationalize it because we've nationalized all politics now because we don't have local media anymore and nothing is local anymore. It's all through that lens, and that's the way the establishment media likes it, but whatever. But Mamdani is a separate thing. In this case, I think it got to be a little bit more local because New Jersey, they talked about tax all the time because New Jersey is a high freaking tax state. Not as bad as New York, but it's still a high tax state. So, and people will move there because of trying to get out of New York, but then they're there paying super huge property taxes. And so you just talk about taxes and people pay attention. Virginia, the big talk was, government workers. They're the homes to a bazillion of them, and it's a statewide election, right? It's not just this little hole or that little hole. I mean, it's statewide. And so you pool the interests and that works for them. New York
I
is
think
not.
that's why Spanberger won. I think that was why Spanberger won. And I think the same thing here. Obviously, to your point earlier, Kevin, it's a blue state, right? And so you're always going to have more turnout. But I do think there's some, not MSNBC like giddiness evaluation of the election, but I do think that there is some issues specific to economics, which I think is why Trump won in 2024. Specifically was because he campaigned on, I'm going to bring prices down. I'm going to help you, the working class. I'm going to do these things. And in the first 9 months, that hasn't come to fruition. Let's just say that. And I think that
we're going to talk about that because I will differ on you on that.
No, we'll definitely get into that. So the next obvious campaign, which is right in your backyards, gentlemen, is Zohran Mamdani. And for people who don't know who he is, he won state Senate in 2020. He remained there unchallenged until 2025. Obviously, he won the mayoral race on Tuesday with 50% of the voters. There was 2 million voters that came into this, over 2 million, which was the most since, 1950, I think?
Something like
69.
1969? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
1969 or 60.
But even then, is that only half of the registered? A quarter of the registered? A third of the registered voters?
So when you talk about 1 million people in 2025 versus 1 million people in 1960, whatever it was, 1 million people was a lot bigger percentage of people, right? So it might have been more people in terms of number, but I don't know about percentage-wise. Like
I don't either.
How much weight versus, I got the reach, all right, but what was the actual numbers? And that I couldn't say. I just know that it was a lot. It's certainly a lot more than Adams. A lot more than Blasio, a lot more than Bloomberg, a lot more than all those guys. So it was a lot. I mean, people came out. Tons of people came out.
So then there's the comparisons to Obama, right? It's happened all over. There's 90,000 volunteers, Gen Zers, as they were calling them, a lot of younger folks that came out. And then they called him a TikTok savant based on his acumen in vertical video and going out to all the boroughs and talking to people about the same thing that Mikie Sherrill was talking about and Spanberger was affordability. So that, again, we'll get into this, Kevin, but the idea there is that New Yorkers are fed up with the status quo. It's for rich people only, and we need these ideas. Now, to put some of these ideas in front of our listeners here, he has ideas specific to free TK preschool 0 to 5. Very expensive, by the way, because I just got done paying for that. Free busing. Free busing is about $600 million a year estimate. Rent freeze I don't think we have to go into too much detail specific to the lineage there. Rent freezes are bad on all economic terms by almost every economist ever. So I don't know exactly how it's going to do that. The state-owned grocery stores, specific to each borough, having these places that are funded for, health for food deserts and things like that. All these ideas were loved by the progressives, right? I my progressive friends in the progressive circles that I jump into to get abused loved it. And they loved Mamdani, and they think he is the next, Obama. What do you? So, Kevin, you
totally, yeah, I totally disagree. Obama ran on I mean, number one, he was a wonderful speaker. So was Mamdani.
Yeah, he's a good speaker.
Obama ran on a lot of very, very centrist ideas. From day one, he's going to be builder. He's going to be.
To be correct, I think it was the charisma and the ability to connect. I don't think it was they were comparing him on progressive ideology versus centrist.
Yeah, but Obama never said anything that made somebody go, that's horrible. Mamdani says everything that makes people go like that. Take his grocery store. Do you know why his grocery stores work in his mind? They will pay no rent because they're government-owned buildings. They will pay no taxes. Imagine you go to Gristides, which is a horrible store, but you go to Gristides and you tell the owner, tell you what, you can open a store in the food desert. You will never pay a tax. You won't pay rent. Problem solved.
That's true.
Why do you have to do it through the government? Because as he said yesterday, there is no problem too big that the government can't solve. Do I have to quote Reagan the 9 words? Do I have to say it? Do I have to?
No.
But Reagan was wrong about that too. Right? I mean,
he was.
He was.
Sorry, this interview's over.
Right. Government is not the problem. It can be problematic, but it's not the problem. Right? I mean, everybody has a different idea of what government should do, and clearly the Mamdanians or the Zohrans, the Z's, or whatever the hell we're calling them. I don't know. I mean, you had the fish heads for fish, you get the dead heads for dead. I don't know what you'll call the Mamdani heads, but whatever they are, because they're there and they're persistent. They will operate on a national scale at some point, on a national stage at some point. But there's those people who think the government should do everything. Most people don't think that. Most people don't.
No,
there are some people who think that it's their.
Obviously, New Yorkers think that because they voted for him.
At least 1 million of them did. Well, I don't know what all of them did.
Interestingly, though, so Joey, back to your thing. So I was babysitting my granddaughter during the primary, and we were walking from her school. They live over in Bed-Stuy, over in Brooklyn, and we were walking, and there was a little park. She wanted to go play. Yeah, let's go swing a little. There were probably 25, 30, 29 to 32-year-olds in the park with their Mamdani stickers, and they were getting ready to go knock on doors.
Yeah.
And I turned around to Leslie and I said, he's going to win. Because there was nobody knocking on doors for
that's right.
Sliwa. There was nobody knocking on doors for Cuomo. They were for him, and they were all enthused. And that's a movement. That's how you get it done.
Let me ask you this, guys. Cuomo was, I think, dead on arrival. And, it's like, did he actually have a chance? I mean, I actually got more votes than I thought. He was in the 40.
He did.
2% or 41.5%.
There was a lot of people going.
41 and a, yeah. And that would have been me. I would have done that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah. I don't know, because that was the bigger issue. Is it's another question, because my progressive friends gushing about him, I don't think they ever mentioned there was no competition, really.
Zero.
If there was a decent Democrat with some notoriety, and that's another thing too. I don't think people understand. He had a 1% name recognition.
That's correct. When he started, right? That is right.
Yeah,
just invisible as it relates. It was almost, worse, better how you look at it than Obama when he came up as a junior senator. It was like he had nothing. No one knew who this guy was, and so it does turn to a lot of things specific to social media. Right? He's charismatic. He's telegenic. He's a good orator. He said a lot of things that people wanted to hear specific to affordability. The question is, and this is where we agreed on our thread, he says things that I think he knows he can't do. And I think Kathy Hochul, the governor, was very measured in her response, but she said things like, I totally agree that we need to work on affordability in New York City, but I support free enterprise. Bang. So fuck you and your grocery stores. And I don't know how we actually support rent freezes based on economic theory and the literature on that. And so she kind of said, what are we going to do? I agree on the affordability, but every idea you came up with, we don't have budget for.
And see, here's where I start falling apart on all this is because she has a governor race next year, and she's got the progressives biting at her butt right now. And if she does not give the progressives what Mamdani wants, she will no longer be governor of this state. I guarantee it. So when he goes to Albany and he says, I need a tax increase, she's going to have to do it. When he says,
no
I need
publicly on that.
Oh, of course she did.
Yeah.
Of course she did.
Yeah.
When it comes time for election, remember she got rid of congestion pricing until a month after she got elected. Then she snapped it into place. She will give it to the progressives. She'll give it to everything that Mamdani wants. I'll bet another beer that I already owe you a keg. But yeah, I don't see any way she can't if she still wants to stay governor. Progressives are taking over the state right now. They're leading the pack. What's his name? Bragg won again.
State or just the city?
State. Progressives run the state.
So Buffalo, I know the Buffalo mayor who's been considered dean. In fact, the progressive guy who ran for mayor got beat by a centrist in a write-in campaign. So
Buffalo, that's progressive.
Syracuse,
could be coming.
I don't know. When I think of people, I think of Kingston or Hudson or whatever, where my father-in-law used to buy all his guns. I just don't see those people going, yeah, Mamdani.
No, they'll stay home like they did for this election. They'll stay home. And it's the people that are really pro Mamdani, they're going to go vote and they're going to push and they're going to, my joke about my joke about going to the commie, not my commie mayor protest this weekend.
Protest, yes.
Republicans don't do that. Conservatives don't do that. The progressives do that. They're in your face. They're going to march. They're going to wear the hats. They're going to do the protest Wall Street, the Wall Street occupation. They do all that. Republicans, they just go, what are you going to do? It's like Tony Soprano. What are you going to do?
Right. And they do that all the time. And yet they're not the ones that actually win. I mean, they just they, here and there, a couple of pockets, and then it lasts for a minute or two. And then there's a recall election. So they just don't stay. It doesn't stick around, right?
Yeah, because it didn't work.
What's the mayor of Boston? She won by 73% or something, and she is considered fairly progressive.
Fairly,
it's big.
Fairly,
she's fairly progressive.
Okay.
I mean, she hasn't seized. Let's put it this way: she has not nationalized, the banks. So I mean, she's not doing that. Right. She hasn't nationalized refineries or anything. But Boston's also only that big in the grand scheme of things. It's a teeny little nothing place, relative to New York. I mean, Boston is like a small fishing village compared to
and
a place like New York.
New York City specifically. I think the issue he won based on the candidates that he was up against, first and foremost.
That's a lot of it.
I also think that people loved whether or not he was telling the truth, and I think Donald Trump does this very well. Donald Trump will say things he knows not to be true that people want to hear, and they still like it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
That's right.
He says, I'm going to do this. I'm going to build the wall. Mexico's going to pay for it. And you're like, okay. Everyone knew he wasn't going to do it, but it was clever and it worked. And I'm going to bring
go to jail, lock her up.
Lock her up.
I can't believe we're a half hour in. We haven't talked about Trump. But the funny thing to me is
because he's a lame duck president.
The thing that's funny to me is everybody says, "Well, okay, Mamdani won, but what can he really do? He can't do this. He can't do this." So everybody voted for him because he can't fulfill his campaign promises. Trump is out there fulfilling his campaign promises, every one of them, and everybody hates him for it.
You've often talked about your 3 Ps. Tell us there's 3 Ps that are important to you.
Oh, my 3 Ps. Yeah. Peace, prosperity, and protection.
Correct. And you think he's
nailing all of those. That's what I want a president to do. He is not nailing peace. He's working hard at it. Those are all big nuts. Those are big nuts. Protection's easier than prosperity and peace. He is, he's done, and I don't want to be a whataboutism, but he is doing so much more than other administrations have done to stop Russia against the Ukraine. When they went into Crimea back in 2012, 2013,
2014.
Nobody did a thing. When he went in 2022, we sent some bombs over. Nothing happened. He's at least out there mixing it up now. He's getting played, but at least he's out there trying for peace.
Well, again, that's the same thing I was mentioning. He said, "I'll solve that war in a day." Right? That was it. I'm just saying that he'll say things because people will believe him, and we all know.
Joey, you're in sales. Come on, that's what we all say.
I am. All I'm saying is that it works. Mamdani did the same thing, right? Where it's like they're going to do these things, and obviously anyone of reason or any knowledge base specific to kinetic war is not going to think it's going to be solved in 24 hours. So obviously that's bullshit. But on that front, let's just start there. If you look at what he did, the peace agreements, we all agreed, the ceasefire was a good step in the right direction. It's fragile, to say the very least, about that
really
right now.
Fragile. Yeah.
Sure. But he's definitely trying. I'll give you the peace side of things. That I will say, fine, right? And then he is trying, but you said he got played. He's been getting played by Putin forever because Putin's KGB background.
Everybody has going back to Bush.
Yeah.
They've all been played
because he's a complete, true lunatic. Putin is a stone cold killer, right? He's not like Trump wants to be a stone cold killer, but he's kind of the Timu version, right? He's not there. He's like, oh, these manufacturers. Right. He doesn't have that stone cold killer instinct. He's not a lunatic and a sociopath at the same level Putin is. On the protection side of things, we debated pretty heavily on ICE being overwrought, overreaching, and cruel. And you disagreed on that in the sense.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So, I mean, can you defend what you think is going on at ICE?
I cannot defend their actions because people are people, right? Their mission is to arrest people who have entered this country illegally.
Yeah.
And to remove them from the country. That's their job. They're just like you and me. They wake up in the morning, they put on their outfit, and they go to work, and that's their job. I think ICE was started in the 70s. It wasn't all that.
Well, ICE was started after 9/11.
Oh, was that 9/11? Oh, that's right. 2000.
Prior to the formation of the Homeland, prior to the formation of Homeland Security, you used to have INS. So you had the INS, Immigration Naturalization Services, and they had enforcement authority, but they were not a militarized law enforcement entity. Okay. What they did is they merged a bunch of things together in order to go after Arabs who were here illegally. That's kind of how that started.
Okay, so now you're an ICE official, and you get your sheet in the morning. You have to go arrest these 10 people. So you go over to those 10 people's house, you knock on their door, say, "Hi, I'm from ICE. We need you to leave the country. So if you could please sign this paperwork, we'll put you in the van. We'll take you to the airport." No, they're going to fight. So everything they do, there's going to be conflict. I will agree with what a lot of people say. They're probably not trained very well because our police aren't trained really well. So they get themselves into situations where they're going to have to fight, and they do a lot of bad things. Now, there's been 600,000 deportations, supposedly.
Yeah.
How many of them have been bad? 100? 200? Even if 1,000 of them, that's a very small percentage of a very hard job. Now, you could say, well, then don't do the job. Just let them stay, which is where we were before. So that's how I defend ICE. Yeah, they've done some horrible things. But it's a hard job. It's a job I wouldn't want to do.
It is, but I think that let's talk about that specifically because you guys know I reported on defund the police and that nonsense specific to progressive ideologies. And the one thing that we learned in our reporting was that police de-escalation is probably the most critical aspect of the training. In that, to your point, Kevin, when you go up and arrest people for whatever reason, the police have the same exact mandate that you just gave, right?
Exactly.
They have to go to a house with domestic violence and arrest the husband who's beating up the wife or the kids or both. And you're like, that's a very dangerous situation, number one. So de-escalation training is expensive. Bigger than the expense is that they don't have the time slots within the department. So there's about 800,000 peace officers in the United States, 18,000 police departments. Within that, you have to take those officers. Oh, and 80% of the departments are less than 25 officers. So figure out that for a second. So if you're in some little, podunk, Keokuk, Iowa, as an example, and you got 20 cops or 10 cops, and now you have to put 3 of them in a de-escalation training, for 60 hours or whatever it may be. Who's on the beat? There isn't one. So they don't.
Well, so it's 15% of my force.
Yeah. And so you look at that and go, oh, okay.
Exactly.
The problem that I see specifically, and I think we addressed this on our thread, is that my biggest issue with ICE is not that I don't think they have a duty. That's what I was correcting you on the other day. I do, and I was on camera with my interview with my Trump folks last interview where they were saying, hey.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, and they were saying, ICE, you have an issue with ICE. I'm like, no, I think that people here have come here illegally, need to be taken care of. Either they are, put in DACA with the kids or they're removed.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, got it. But the issue goes back to the training, because if you look at, they've relaxed the standards, which relax is a very loose positive word for what they're doing. They have 47 days of training for some of these officers. Some of these officers have not cleared any type of background checks. So they have misdemeanors, domestic violence, things that are exact opposite of someone you want with a gun and a badge and a military vehicle going in to storm people to take kids away at Home Depot, at hair salons, at farms. And yeah, the bigger concern for me goes back to the same thing we had with Abrego Garcia when they arrested this guy and deported him without due process. All those things really scare the shit out of me, not just because my mom's Mexican, but because I have Mexican friends who are scared to even go to job based on the fact that they are citizens. They were born and raised here, but they look like a certain. And can we look at the leadership for a second of ICE? Do you guys know who Todd Lyons is?
Very little.
Lyons?
Yeah. He's the acting director, assumed the role in March. And
Holman is one who gets all the
well, yeah, we'll get to Holman. Because the idea
he's the one who gets all the attention.
This is what Todd Lyons, the acting director, said. The head of Immigration and Customs Enforcement said he would like the agency to implement a system of trucks that round up immigrants for deportation in a system similar to how Amazon delivers packages. This is, and a quote, "We need to get better at treating this like a business," he said. He said that he wanted to see a deport system specific to Amazon, and he said this to the Arizona Mirror. And so, I'm like, okay, so that's your leader. And then...
God bless America.
No, that's just fucking cruel. And I think that's another thing I have an issue with this administration is the cruelty is the purpose. He also said, when he's looking at his border czar, Tom Homan, right? We debated this too. Tom Homan is, and I haven't heard the recording because I don't know if it's been out there or leaked or not, but the FBI said Tom Homan is on audio taking a $50,000 bribe in cash in a paper bag right out of a mob movie. And it's just been swept under the rug, right? He wasn't not a part of the Trump administration when this took place, but he was promising people, I'm going to work for Trump because they believed him, because he worked for Obama. So he knew what this job was. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to give you guys sweetheart deals specific to private security, private prisons, whatever it may be. Where did the money go? Why did the investigation stop? What do you guys think of that?
The one thing I'm not a big conspiracy theorist kind of person. So when I hear something like that from anonymous sources, and then nothing ever happens from it, no, MSNBC doesn't go do anything, CNN doesn't do anything, Washington Post doesn't do anything, New York Times, there's no write-ups, there's
there's tons of write-ups on all those publications on this.
Very little.
Not anymore.
Not mainstream. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Not anymore.
It all disappeared.
No, I got it. But there was tons of investigations. It just stopped because they stopped it. They're like, he didn't.
Because there's nothing there. Because there's nothing there.
You believe that?
That's why it also. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think that the American attention span is really in it for the long haul, and it's wondering where that story is. It's going, man. I've watched 75 episodes of Game of Thrones, and I'm waiting for 76, and it's been now 3 months. I'm going to start to carry signs about it.
They're hanging on to Epstein. Why aren't they hanging on to
Epstein is off the front pages.
Wow.
Yeah, Epstein, they pushed him off the front.
It's all
you have to do, blow up a few boats off of the coast of Venezuela, and boom, nobody's going to pay attention.
Well, here's the thing that bothers me. This is what ICE has done. They waived age limits. So the previous you had to be 21 to 40. Now you can be any age. Anywhere. That's shortened training is now 47 days from 16 weeks.
That's
They
crazy.
eliminated requirements for formal interviews. The provisional clearances There's no provisional clearances, meaning that full background checks are conducted after the fact. There's reduced Spanish instruction. And then these changes have resulted in the following: high failure rates, significant recruits have failed to meet the physical requirements. And by the way, the physical requirements are 32 sit-ups, run 1.5 miles in 14 minutes.
Jesus, I can't even do that. I'm 69 years old.
It's just so bad. And then despite all these goals, the relaxed Dems offered $50,000 in brown paper bags.
Signing bonus.
In brown paper bags, handed out by Tom Homan. Right? I think he's like, if I get 50 grand, I'll just give it to the recruits because I'm obviously good at taking bribes, so I'll just hand it over. And so like that, and then in addition to that, what are we doing with the detainees? Right? Have you guys read any of that? The detainees, there's tons of lawsuits in numerous states. Let's switch to which state.
I'm in Florida right now, so I am an hour and a half from Alligator Alcatraz. I want to go see it.
Already shut down, right? Because they didn't.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
So you have
large privately run institution. That's kind of a problem.
Yeah. So the detainees have water bottles as pillows. There's no beds. Holding cells reportedly up to 150 people. There's overflow of toilets. The water tastes like sewage. Refused medical care. All this is evidence that has been taken to the courts because there was enough that the people were freaking out. The ACLU's everywhere. They filed claims in New York, Virginia, Arizona, California, and there's numerous, sadly, a long list. That's the stuff that scares me, Kevin. That to me is not protection. That is complete ignorance. That is complete just dropping the ball of a major component to what we all agree is needed, right? You have to take care of immigration. You have to take care of the border, but this is not the way to go about it.
Well, that's where I would differ, but I do agree with the one thing that you said on your interview with the other guys a month or so ago. It has to be done. If somebody's here illegally, you need to get rid of them. It's the speed. Why is there a speed element to all this? Why is there a quote?
Right. There doesn't need to be.
That makes no sense.
Right. And
that's from the mistakes.
That's Stephen Miller. That's Tom.
Don't get me started on Miller.
Okay. Well, we agree.
I think it's
fucking lunatic. Yeah.
He's awful.
Yeah. He's Gollum.
Everybody hated Cheney as being the Darth Vader. God, he looks like an angel compared to Miller.
I agree.
Bless his soul.
Yeah,
I agree on that.
Right. Vaught and Miller have found their useful idiot, and it turned out that was Trump. Trump, because he's got the power that they would need that they could never get on their own to do the kinds of things that they seem to think are interesting to do. Whereas Trump, if I just give him a gold-plated toothbrush, I get that guy to drop nuclear bombs on Moldavia. You know, I mean, it doesn't matter. And they got him, and he's like, yeah, okay. Well, my guys told me this because I'm positive Trump isn't digging into policy. He's not reading books. He's not sitting through briefings. No, he's not stroking his chin, really kind of thinking. He like walks around. Somebody tells him, like, yeah, that sounds great. And then somebody tells him next, yeah, that sounds great. Oh, no, I hate that. Don't do that. And then that's kind of it. If you've got a guy like that and you're the one who actually is coming up and you're the evil genius, I mean, how awesome is that? You don't have to get elected because those guys could never get elected. You don't have to be accountable because you weren't elected. You're actually appointees, which is kind of funny because the whole mask that you're wearing is that appointees shouldn't have the power. The power is invested in the executive of the country, and that's the person who's the one who's making the decisions. But they're the ones who have the decisions to be made, and they just give them to him, and he makes them because he doesn't care. He doesn't know. He's moving on to the next round of golf. And he's moving on to the next bottle of Diet Coke. He didn't care. And the ballroom and golden candelabras. And I mean, if I didn't know any better, I'd say, I mean, somebody else says it. Is it Nellie Bowles who says Trump's our first gay president? You know, I mean, he's freaking Liberace, man. I mean, he wishes his brother George was here, and that's kind of it. It's like, they've got, it's shocking how much power unelected officials have in this administration. Now, we could argue that that's always been true to some extent, and I agree with that.
That's how Trump got into saying that unelected officials run our country.
Right.
And then he did
speeches by the Manhattan Institute. The Manhattan Institute is very big on that. And so they were always talking about the unelected bureaucrats. And so they're very big into the Unitarian theory of president because that would help to kind of override some of that. But if you've got somebody who doesn't want that responsibility and then he gives it to unelected officials, what's the difference?
See, well, think about it this way, guys.
You end up-
If you were going to apply at a company and Todd Lyons was the CEO, Tom Homan was the vice president of sales, Christine Noem was the chairman, and Stephen Miller was the.
Chrissy and I mean, I'm in on that.
Well, you like her because she's pretty.
She's hot.
Right.
She's
So
hot.
I don't think she's pretty to begin with, but you think she's pretty. I'm just saying, would you guys work for that company? Would you, Kevin? You know, we've had a storied career.
Holman looks like he's right out of typecasting for a tough New York cop.
Yeah.
He gets on. I watch him sometimes on Fox, and he gets up there. He talks like this.
Yeah. No, they all have. They believe they're all like.
This sounds horrible.
I know.
Yeah.
Would you work? Would you work for this company?
No, God, no, God,
okay.
no.
Because I mean, at least we can agree that ICE is horribly mismanaged and it's fucking people up. It's hurting innocent people. We can
again. I think it's what you said. They're going too fast.
Yeah,
slow it down.
You know, just texted me because that Bing. It was Bill Valley, the guy that I was arguing with.
Oh yeah,
he just texted me. So I can't wait to read what he said.
Of course he did.
Oh, let's jump to Venezuela because we disagree on this too. You think it's okay to indiscriminately blow up boats in the Caribbean?
You know what? The two interesting things on that.
Yeah.
One, of course, if you call somebody, if you declare somebody to be a terrorist organization, you can apparently go bomb whoever you want to and say, well, they're terrorists, so we can bomb them. You know, Obama did 564 drone attacks against terrorists, Somalia and all that, because they declared them terrorists, which is what Trump did. So, okay, fine. But the other thing, I was watching PBS and they had the ex-president of Colombia, and I'd have to know more about why he is no longer president. Was it normal? Did they kick him out? Whatever happened? But you could see that PBS was setting it up to be a gotcha, a Trump gotcha. And he said, we in Colombia have worked so long with the United States government that our intelligence agencies are intertwined. And when our combined agencies say that is a narco boat, he said, you can believe that it is 100%. He said, "There's no question."
One guy, right? So that's my question: is that
he used to be the president? So
no, I know, but it's one person's opinion. So I don't know enough to know if we have, commingled our intelligence.
That's better than Rachel's what's her face's opinion.
Rachel Maddow. I haven't heard hers, but I mean, the War Powers Act, just for my listeners, is the consultation notification. The president must consult with Congress in every possible instance before introducing U.S. armed forces in hostilities. 48-hour report. The president must report to Congress within 48 hours before deploying troops to hostilities. 60-day limit without a congressional declaration of war. He's already passed that 60 days. He's violated all the other pieces. He's not come up with any proof specifically to your point. I mean, it'd be great to have some evidence to say we know for sure.
I'd love to see it.
Well, me too. And he talks about this based on fentanyl. And so that was an issue specific to some of the court cases out there. He's like, well, you can't prove that, right? Is there fentanyl coming from Venezuela? It's coming through the Caribbean. We now have an aircraft carrier. We have gunboats. We have military people out. Do you guys think this is bigger than going after these supposed terrorists in these little boats? Is this a takeover of Maduro? Is this like, we're going to displace this guy? Because why do we have all the military there? I mean, I don't have an answer to that. I'm just asking.
I think redirection. He can do it. He declared them terrorists, so he's doing it.
So you don't think it's a takeover?
No.
Okay.
No. We have done so poorly in South America. I would hope we would stop doing that.
I'm just giving more money.
Yeah.
our track record. So we're giving it all to Argentina.
Let's just give them $40 million. Yeah. That's
which, by the way, is not that much money when you think about it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, those are the kind of things that I don't.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bigger thing.
Okay, you don't. All right.
No.
All right.
I think. I think they just like to blow shit up.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I really think it's that simple.
Yeah.
Most of what I've seen out of the Trump administration and the kind of people it appeals to most tend to be 12-year-old edgelords. I mean, it's people who like to blow things up on Fortnite. Like that. It's that simple.
And you know, that gets an erection doing this every day.
I bet he does. I'm sure that he really likes that sort of thing. I mean, when he doesn't have whiskey dick, yeah. But
he does. Not the whataboutism too much, but like I said, Obama carried out 560 some drone strikes. Biden actually didn't do it that often. He was not a big believer in that. But none of Obama's that didn't go through Congress. There were no declarations. He just did it. He just blew up, including an American citizen, which was questionable, but he did it.
And he did those where?
Somalia, he did them in Somalia is the only one I really remember. I think he probably did them in Iraq. He probably did them in it's all in the Middle East is where he did those.
Countries where he'd already had military entanglements.
Like Venezuela.
Which had been approved by Congress.
Yeah.
If I remember, they invaded Iraq and they all voted for
I don't think they've ever been approved to go into Somalia.
He was never.
I don't remember Somalia was in the early 90s. Like Black Hawk Down or whatever that movie was.
Yeah. All right, so we can agree there that he's not going after Maduro. I actually think he is planning on something bigger with these little gunboat explosions. And I have a problem with this, I actually think he's coming after Maduro. I just do. I don't know why.
Just 51st state. We can't get Canada, so let's get Venezuela.
All right, yeah, because
there's oil in Venezuela.
That's what it is. I do think it's the oil, and I think minerals, whatever minerals.
And didn't he talk about Nigeria too? He's using the idea of Christian genocide going on in Nigeria as well. And Nigeria, I know for a fact, has a lot of oil because Chevron has a lot of refinery there. So that would be another oil producing place that isn't the Middle East.
All right. So
not that we need that because we're the number one producer of oil right now, but
no, yeah, no, it's for me, everything's about everything for Donald Trump is transactional. I just believe everything he does thinks about it's transactional. And then if there's a byproduct of good in it, awesome. Does it make me money? Does it make me look good? Are people going to give me a compliment? That's kind of how it goes through his decision making.
Yeah.
So, I mean, specific to making money, he continues to talk about all the new taxes that are coming in the United States based on tariffs. What are your thoughts? Well, actually, let's do this first. Let's figure out, because we went from ICE, which we think he's blowing up. He's just doing a terrible job. We all understand that. SNAP. We were going at each other pretty hard on this last week. You said, Kevin, you sent back a note. It's all good now. He's coming up with SNAP benefits. And I'm like, okay. No, I know, but it's like he fought on that, and he fought on it because he thought Biden overfunded these programs, and so he doesn't want to fund them during the shutdown. And now he's funded 50% of that, right? And that
he's done it. Trump has done that, or Congress is doing that.
Well, again,
who's actually doing all this, and who's cutting the SNAP benefits?
Do you think that when someone,
he has nothing to do with it?
Do you think anyone does anything in our government today without Trump's approval?
Remember we talked about in 2022, we talked about Rush Limbaugh, because I really did enjoy listening to him. Half the time he's full of crap, half the time he says some interesting things. And he was condemning Obama about something. And one of his callers, whatever, said, "Oh, you really think that Obama said you got to do this?" No. If you are a loyalist to the president, you know what the president wants, so you just do it. So, is Trump ordering SNAP benefits cut? Is he ordering a shutdown? No. But
he's saying publicly why he doesn't want to fund it. So, I mean,
fund it, but that's different from the shutdown.
No, I'm saying, but he's on the SNAP benefits alone. He's like, no, fuck you guys. I don't want to fund this. The USDA, I don't care where their budget comes from, which, by the way, was $4.6 billion, and it costs about $8 to $9 billion a month to run this. So they're going to run out of money. 50% is going out today, and there's delays, right? So that's a big.
They said it could be months. It could be months.
Yeah, but there are a lot of people, and even some of my family I just got back from visiting in Minnesota in the Midwest, who are count on these things. And they're terrified, and they voted for Trump, right? So that's another thing. If you look at the 42 million people, 1.2 million of them are veterans who are not getting their benefits. These people are actually relying on this, and it's like $160 to $300 a month. This is not a lot of money, but it's food money.
It is to them.
Yeah. So I mean, how do you think this works under your P of peace or protection? Because they're not protecting our society least vulnerable.
Because I'm going to throw out, what does Trump have to do with the shutdown? He didn't do it. He didn't shut down the
Well,
government.
that's not the point here. We'll get to
No, that is. If the government were open, they'd be getting their benefits right now.
right.
Everybody be getting paid. The government should not be shut down. A continued resolution means the government progresses as it did.
Okay, but understandable. So you're saying that I'm just saying you think this is protection. We're not protecting the least vulnerable of our culture. That, by definition, is bad. No?
Is our government doing it? No, they're failing us right now.
Right.
They're failing us horribly. Is Trump failing us? No, because he had nothing to do with the shutdown.
What did Trump say about the shutdown historically? Every shutdown, he said it's the fault of the president.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's his fault according to his own thinking.
Trump says a lot of bullshit. He always says.
But you can't do that, dude. You can't do the God stuff on me. God works in strange and mysterious ways when things go bad. And God, I'm blessed.
Go back to the law. Go back to the law.
It's kind of like when things go good, it's my fault. When things go bad, it's that bad.
Yeah.
I try to get beyond the politics of that. Whose job is keeping the government open? It was the job of the Senate to pass what the House of Representatives did. The Democrats and the Senate shut it down, and that's where that's not true.
So what were the acts prior to that would have given them pause for voting on a continuing resolution? Something that we never used to do, by the way. They used to actually just vote for budgets.
I know,
have a budget for you.
Yeah.
Of course.
So what happened prior to that?
The thing is with this, is it really worth it? And this is all great stuff to talk about in some professorial locker room, smoking your pipe and your sweater with the patches. This is awesome. Meantime, 46 million people are getting hurt. They're shutting down airplanes. Who knows what else is going to happen? Is it really worth this kind of a fight?
All Republicans would have to do is say, we'll extend the ACA subsidies.
That's it.
Why would they do it?
How come it's on six Democrats to do it?
Right.
Why?
Because Republicans.
Why?
Because the Democrats are the ones that voted for the ACA contributions in the first place.
In 2020.
Republicans didn't vote for that. They put it on, and they said in 2025 they expire. So that's a whole new process.
Right, but that's also part of
something we should continue.
But that's part of the negotiating process. It's how it used to happen.
Well, and that's wonderful.
What we used to do.
Then then SNAP people are going to suffer while we go through negotiations.
But it's not SNAP. They
don't even have to negotiate. All they do is
Democrats could have opened the government by passing the continued resolution. That's it. That's it.
So could
and then none of this would happen. No, they did. They passed the continued resolution. The House and the Senate both passed it. They both passed it. Continued resolution means
they didn't pass it, because if they passed it, it would be in effect, right?
They didn't pass. Well, the House passed it. The Senate voted for it. They didn't break the filibuster. Which, by the way, I'm against Trump wanting to get rid of the filibuster. Stupidest thing I've ever heard. But that's
Trump doesn't want to do it either, does he?
Yeah,
he said he did. He's like, I want you to do it right now, because Trump knows he's on borrowed time now. Given what happened Tuesday, there's a very good chance. It's not a steamwalk by any stretch. A lot of things still have to go right, but then he'll at least lose House in a year. He's got 1 year.
Yeah,
and in that time, that's all he's got left to get anything done. And if he can't own the Senate between now and then, which he can't because he doesn't have enough, getting rid of the filibuster is the only way to shove stuff through. And that's why, because he's effectively lame duck president. The clock is ticking on a lame duck presidency. And even the Republicans are starting to go, wait a minute, we're tethered to this guy. He only helps us win when he's on the ballot. And when he's not on the ballot, but he supports people on the ballot, they lose. So they're starting to figure that out.
Well, thank God in 2028 he'll be on the ballot. So thank God.
Right.
Do you think? Two things, but I know you don't believe that. And you also don't believe his nonsense about 2020. He won the election, correct? Just to clarify.
No, of course not.
So
he got creamed.
Yeah. So those are the things that we can all agree on. I think that the fact that we are negotiating, we collectively, Congress, is negotiating with 42 million people who are hungry, actually hungry.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
I think that's rude.
I go back to Trump's numerous utterances specific to blaming whoever is in charge of the organization during a shutdown is responsible. It is his fault. He is our president. He needs to negotiate. He needs to figure out a remedy. And by the way, he has enough executive power to make sure these people get funded. He could do it right now if he wanted to. And so that's another issue.
He can write an executive order.
Yes. He's written 600 of them, so he can write another one.
Yeah.
And so the idea there is that's where I disagree with you again, Kevin. He could help these poor people. He doesn't give a shit. He never has given a shit about the working class. It's another lie, and this is why it bothers me. The SNAP benefits bother me. So we'll just end that. Tariffs. That we want to get into the tariffs. So if we look at tariffs the same way, did you guys read or listen to any of the recent testimony with the Solicitor General this week, specific to the court
A little
case?
bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit.
Okay. So just to educate our audience, what's up right now is that the administration's case in the Supreme Court is dealing with the International Emergency Economics Powers Act, EPA, as they call it. And that's the act they're using to block the tariffs. They're saying basically, and Trump says, if I lose this court case, it's going to be a catastrophic event. I will lose all my negotiating power with foreign partners and opponents. And he is right, because it will show he has no power specific to tariffs. Now, the issue around the IEPA Act, it uses verbs in the act. And I wrote these down when I was listening to this yesterday. It uses verbs like investigate, block, regulate, direct, compel, nullify, void, prevent, and prohibit to describe the president's powers under IEPA. None of these verbs apply to a duty or a tax or an impost specific to tariffs, which is a tax. And so that was the big issue. And if you look at how he argued these, it's one of those things where Sauer, the attorney for the Justice Department, is saying that they're going to use the IEPA specific to the tariffs, even though our conservative justices have been pushing back hard. Chief Justice Roberts said, well, in the major questions doctrine should apply here, given that this is a major economic and political action by the executive branch, that it involves numerous countries for undisclosed amount of time with absolutely no criteria. So what they're actually saying is that you can't just decide unilaterally as the President of the United States to employ IEPA as a salvo to go out and put tariffs on countries randomly, much like he did again with an extra 10% against Canada because they didn't like the Ronald Reagan video, right? So, I mean, this is where I have a hard time. I know you're a smart guy, Kevin, but how do you continue to support this guy specific to profit when these tariffs are crushing our farmers? And we can talk about that.
I just watched an article, or I just saw a thing this morning, that it is absolutely helping our wine growers in California. The tariffs on European wines, they are making a fortune in California. So with tariffs, you're going to have winners.
You need to read up more, because I live here. That's not the case.
I saw it this morning.
They're in trouble. I know you read an article. I'm just saying that's not the case in Napa Valley.
It was on CBS News.
It's tough. Well, that's Barry Wise's fault.
Love her, by the way. That's awesome. I've never been a fan of the tariffs. You know that. You can go back and look at all.
Yeah, no, I know.
I think it's a stupid idea. And as far as profit, I think the last thing I saw, it's been $34 billion so far.
$34 billion in tariffs?
Yeah, that's all that's been collected. It's $34 billion.
What do you think tariffs are? What are tariffs?
That's they're a tax on whoever's buying. It could go either way, but at the end of the day, we're going to pay.
It's a tax, right? We can agree on that.
It's a tax.
Yeah.
It's a tax, which sort of like the individual mandate for Obamacare was. But we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there.
It was.
And the Supreme Court said that's a tax. So maybe, but that was Congress.
But that was passed by Congress.
Correct. And I get the difference.
It wasn't by fiat. It was Congress.
I'm not a fan of the tariffs. I think it's a stupid idea. I think it's a waste of time. I don't see that it's given him that much negotiating power. I think he could have done it a bunch of other ways. I don't think it's made a hill of beans profit-wise, and I think it's caused a lot of turmoil. However, I did read an article today on MarketWise that said if the Supreme Court strikes down the tariffs, they said the stock market is going to explode.
It is going to, it's going to be a huge problem. But I can tell you, just because I got back my...
No, I think it's going to go up.
That's what I said. It's going to go up. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
You're going to have 75,000 Dow.
Well, and again, what's going to happen is it's going to just be a more issue with the inequality of our culture. That's not going to help anyone. I was just back.
I don't know. All I know is I can use it.
Yeah.
I use it, baby. I'll make
I-
it.
You
I-
damn,
I
you
will-
damn,
I will-
you damn 67%er.
I will not.
Up, baby.
But like I have relatives and friends from high school in Minnesota who are farmers, and they asked me all these questions back in 2017. And what's going on? Is he going to take care of us? And I said, well, and I was surprised, but he had to pass a bill, $28 billion bailout for the farmers in his first administration. And then
Yep.
the tariffs this time, specific to Minnesota, they've lost all their soybeans. So
Yeah,
they
it's
had
always been a problem.
well, they had 0 bought this year and 12 billion bought last year. And so there's tons and tons of bankruptcies. And farmers, as we can all agree, are just hardworking, good people that usually don't spend a lot of time reading and discussing politics. But what they are upset about is that he came up and said, I'm going to take care of my farmers, I'm going to take care of the working class. They qualify under the working class. Same thing with the cattle farmers. Now with Argentina getting a $40 million bailout and we're buying their cattle.
That's not that. That's just they're not saying that we're going to yet.
Right.
It's just being
Understood, but I mean, those guys are in trouble too, right? I mean, so the tariffs themselves, you agree, they're not working.
No.
And the court itself, this is another thing I want to get back to. Even Justice Amy Coney Barrett said, and she asked the Solicitor General, can you give me one prior example where regulate importation in a statute was interpreted to mean the president can impose tariffs? Of course, he couldn't answer that question. Even Justice Neil Gorsuch expressed this is the biggest concern, is that if the president has this kind of authority, Congress may never get it back. And that case might set a precedent for executive power to expand beyond traditional limits, which is the unitarian form of government that Russell Vought and a couple of other folks in the administration want. Stephen Miller obviously wants it. I think he didn't call him a plenipotentiary, but he used the word plenary in an interview and then stopped cold like he had a stroke.
Yeah, he did.
Right. And
he froze.
He did. He was just
like Mitch McConnell.
What I'm surprised.
He did.
Oh, too soon.
Oh, fuck me.
What I'm surprised at is that Congress is willing to give up their power. Is that just because they just get their money and they don't care? Why are they giving it
scared? They're scared to.
I think it's a devil's bargain that if they go against Trump or Trump-like things, that
they're done.
People are going to come down. The entire online universe that they control are just going to come after them and dox them and threaten their children's lives and all those.
No, that's way before Trump.
I know.
Way before Trump.
Lisa Murkowski said she was actually scared for her life to go against Trump in this environment.
I think they've abdicated the responsibilities for years. Way
not like this, dude. Name one.
They have. I would agree. I agree with Kevin on that. Congress has been slowly like.
Wait a minute. Can you say that again? Could you say that again?
Kevin's right. Kevin's right. I feel like
Kevin is right. Let's put a timestamp on it. 1:15.
Congress
Standard Time.
Congress has been sliding authority to the president for some time, pretty much since they took as much of it. I mean, they've had as much of it as they should have from the beginning, but they took even more in the post-Nixon era, and then slowly started giving it back. Kind of like once Carter was out, they started giving it back over the last 35, 40 years, and I think have given too much away. I mean, and you have said that. You've said that many times.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, they are just rolling over and taking up the ass without the pleasure of a reach around.
No,
I don't understand what's going on. I mean, it's absurd. They are just, and I think it's because they're scared, like both physically scared, but also they want to keep their jobs, and they think that somehow Trump will kind of keep that from happening. But I do think that starting this past Tuesday, there's going to be a little peel away, so bit by bit, and nothing overt, because you don't want to get the masses upset. But they're going to start peeling away quietly, bit by bit, in a way that will allow them to assert a little bit more.
Look at Marjorie
that they possess.
Look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's going on The View, and she's going against her Republicans. So
I was just going to say, MTG.
I think you're right.
When MTG is the voice of reason in Congress, shit has gone sideways.
You're way in trouble.
No, are you kidding? The end times are near, after all.
Oh my God.
There's the four horsemen on the apocalypse on the horizon right now. And you see MTG. We all agree that MTG is making sense this last couple of weeks. That says a lot.
That says a lot. Horrible.
It does. She's starting to really she's moving from celebrity to politician.
Yeah.
Like, I really do feel like that's...
And I think she's very fed up. And that's another thing, too, is that if you look at the historical norms of the Republican Party, this is kind of what we started talking about years ago. We all welcome small C conservatives, right?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody, Mitt Romney and John McCain and Jeff Flake and all those cats, like, I thought they were great. I didn't agree with them on fiscal policy, possibly, but I thought they were good people, right? And I thought they were good leaders. And I think that's the biggest issue, like with my ICE issue. It's not a matter of like, is ICE the organization a necessary thing? Yeah. I mean, you need something to enforce, but how are they going about it? They're going about it poorly. How are they going about this, SNAP benefits discussion? To your point, Kevin, yes, the CR, that's an issue that we have to resolve as a group, as a Congress, as leaders, fine, but they can, if they wanted to, feed these people. They're refusing to do so, which is, again, just cruel on its face. And that's the kind of stuff that I have a problem with your 3 Ps. I think the profit you talk about is 100% agreed. We all agree on this, right? The stock market itself, and as I said online,
and I'm not just not just the stock.
Right. No, but it's like it's the weather versus the climate, right? I think the weather right now is good. I think that the market's going to do fine. I think AI is propping this up. I shared that with you guys before. $500 billion being pumped into the market based on valuations that are just batshit crazy. Good news for San Francisco, by the way, is we got office space coming up. We got parties here again. It's right back to that early boom when you and I and the 3 of us were actually young and attractive. And so it's like that is happening. And those are the things you're like, okay, I like that. Obviously, we're all taking advantage of the uptick over the last many years in our portfolios. Sadly, most people don't. And Kevin, I did agree with you when you were arguing with Terry on this, because he's like 10%, and you're like, no, there's 50% of the population.
67% of Americans are in the market.
Yeah, at the 401k IRA level. Yeah, so people did get benefits from that. The issue, though, is that they have $50,000 in their 401k versus what, larger incomes have. It's not.
You know what?
Yeah.
Baseball players make what, $400,000, but some guy just got recruited for $750 million. So there's always going to be inequalities in people. You never.
Yeah. Well, no,
I wish we all had 10 million in the market.
I go off on the baseball stuff. Anyone who talks about support the athletes being as elite as they are, I will argue that all day long. There's approximately 5,000 athletes that make a shit pot full of money, and it's because they're freaks. Right? They're absolute physical, mental freaks. They're awesome.
Yeah.
They train 7 hours a day. They've been doing it since they were 6. Like, fuck you. Okay. They earn it. So people are like, no, they don't. Yeah, they fucking do. And they motivate us to be better. That's what Olympic athletes do. They motivate us. It's like, that's a whole different situation. I have an issue.
Can't you use that same thought with people like Jeff Bezos, people like
we agree on that. We agree on
those people. They're freaks too. They're freaks.
We agree on the Ubermensch,
Okay.
Our resident psychologist or philosopher here from Oxford, but you and I've talked about, the Ubermensch theory. I don't have an issue with it as it relates to Bezos and Zuckerberg and all of those guys. What I don't like, by the way, was the capitulation from all these billionaires in the beginning at a like stand up for yourself level. What I will say is that if I was the CEO of Apple or Meta, I would have kissed the ring too, because I wouldn't want to.
You got to take a knee. Take a knee.
You have to, or you're just going to get fucked. And that's also scary and weird.
Well, it's the first time you realize this difference between wealth and power and how they're not always the same thing.
Right. Yeah. Great point. Really. They have a lot of.
Leave it to Timmy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys, they have a lot of stuff, but they are real power.
Yeah. And it's kind of like
the difference. Trump or some, my friends.
It's like Chris Rock said the difference between wealthy and rich. He goes, right. He's like, when you play for the Warriors, you're rich. But when you own the Warriors,
that's right.
Nice Chris Rock imitation, by the way. That's pretty good.
Well, thank you. I like Chris Rock. But yeah, I think that those are the kind of things that really bug me about Trump, in the sense that everything is him as transactional, as I meant before. What are your thoughts on the grift? I know you've said this before. The grift, it's bad, right, Kevin? The cyber coins and the meme coins and the buying in to get dinners, and I mean,
one of my fun follows lately, because I'm a golfer. I've golfed since I was 12. Is I've enjoyed watching his granddaughter Kai Trump, and as she goes to Florida State or one of the Florida schools, and as she goes to and decreases her career, I started following, and all of a sudden I get hit with an ad. She has merch.
Of course,
she does.
New sweatshirt.
She has Kai Trump merch.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And that's even against my capitalistic sensibilities. That's crazy.
Well, crazy. It offers up conflict, right? I mean, if you can actually donate hundreds of millions of dollars to get a dinner with Trump, and as well as I do, anyone that flatters Trump gets what they want, usually.
How, though, is that different than the donor dinners that like Biden did in New York that shut down New York all the time? How is that different than a donor dinner?
Well, I mean, that's
big. How's that different? People who are giving to the ballroom, how is that different than a donor dinner where people are paying millions of dollars a plate to sit there and get FaceTime with a president? It's the same thing. It's the same grift, just done differently.
I don't know. Right? I mean, you think that's the same thing?
When it comes, here's the thing where you can have, this is another thing I used to say, you can have two completely different motives that look the same. If I followed somebody around online and I watched the different kinds of sites they go to, I could tell that they're planning to get married. What I can't tell is, are they getting married for love or money? Right? I just can't tell the difference. And the motive behind hosting a dinner in one instance versus another.
$1 million a plate dinner.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm hosting one to raise money for a political endeavor. It's to fund a campaign. It's to buy advertisements. The other thing I'm finding, because I just want people to kiss my ass and think that they can have influence over me with money, and I'm probably going to keep some of it. And you know the way I'm going to do that? I'm going to open up a bunch of meme coins and have a bunch of different kinds of crypto side hustles, and that's how they're going to do it. And it's really just to enrich myself. Yeah, I can have sponsored dinners or donor dinners, but I'm doing them for different reasons, even if they look like dinners that people both pay lots of money for.
Yeah.
And Trump isn't doing it because he wants someone to influence him to do something. He doesn't actually care whatever the outcome is. He's not looking to have his mind change. Yeah. He doesn't have a decision made.
Yeah.
He just wants the money.
And that money right now is about...
I think Biden's probably a bad example because I'm not sure he had a mind either to be changed. But that's a completely different thing.
Well,
too soon.
Back to what we talked about, though, Jimmy and Kevin, right, is that Trump's estimated net worth increase is about $1.6 billion, minimal. They think it might be anywhere in the $3 to $4 billion now, based on all of these things. So obviously that's a grift that is purely legal, right? Because no one's fighting that. We'll see what they do with future administrations. But I agree with you that it's a very different approach, Kevin, for me to have a donor dinner that you use for a political campaign versus I'm just going to make money off of it and fuck you.
I think my mind went to the ballroom. So I was comparing the ballroom thing.
Ballroom is, and that's a whole nother, like...
That's a different thing.
Yeah,
but you're right. His tennis shoes, that's all him.
Yeah, all the grift. And I think that's for me, because we agreed that Biden was also guilty of allowing his son, the degenerate Hunter, to sit on a board for Burisma for it was like what? Is it $50,000 a month? I mean, it was sick, real money.
It's $80,000 a month.
So it was almost $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Do nothing other than his last name. So that to me was like, okay, and we agreed that was terrible, right? That was stupid politically, optically, and then obviously there's conflict, right? It's got Biden's last name. He wasn't in office at the time, but then it was one of those things where you're like, we agreed on that. So if we can agree on that, we should agree that Trump and his sons running around the Middle East, cutting deals, making billions of dollars in transactional ideas.
It's crazy.
Yeah. All right. We can agree on all that too.
It's crazy.
As long as he doesn't get the $230 million paid out by the Justice Department, please ask him. Because then
his malicious prosecution.
Because then that's my money.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, I don't like the grift. I think
was pretty stupid.
Reprehensible, but he's taking money from people who've got it that are willing to give it to him. You forget whether or not you think it's right or wrong. But when he's starting to come after my money to get paid, That's a different story.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to end with Comey, but we didn't have any time. So let's just do this. We got to jump, Jimmy. I know you got a hard stop, but let's just watch together what happens with Comey, because that you want to talk about.
Oh man,
vindictive prosecution, selective prosecution. It'll never, ever, ever happen. And I think the same thing will be proven with Comey that has been proven with ICE, is that they went too fast, too far. Lindsay Halligan, the attorney, the only attorney at the Eastern District, would sign with no understanding of prosecutorial anything.
On her fourth date.
Right. Because she was the only one that would sign it. Eric Siebert came in and said, go fuck yourself. And he was a Trumper and said, there's no way I'm signing this complaint because it's absolute pure garbage. Those are the kind of things that, in my opinion, Kevin, go against your 3 Ps. Specifically because no one feels protected when there's fear, right, and favor within the Justice Department. No one feels safe when they get snatched off the streets by masked men in unmarked cars. No one feels safe when a gunboat can be blown up indiscriminately based on a fucking weird act from 1977. Those are the kind of things where I'm just saying, I don't feel the same love you do for your dude. I dig you. You got a big heart. I know you're a good guy, but I just don't see it. I just don't. I'm trying.
Half full, my friend. Half full. There's more good than bad going on. That's my point.
Okay, we disagree on that too. But thanks, boys. As always, I love you, and I thank you for joining me on True 30 today. And look forward. We'll do this again much quicker than the last 3 years.